It's raining, leaving the roads and pavements slick in the glow of streetlights. A good night, I feel. Sometimes you just know when things will run smoothly. Of course, sometimes your instincts are wrong. It's always worth bearing that in mind. I arrive at the pub early to check out the place, make sure there's a quiet corner. I park the van out of sight of the main road, lock it, look round to see if I'm being watched. Nothing's obviously wrong, so I go inside. It's quiet, almost empty in fact. A typical midweek lull, unenlivened by quiz or karaoke. It's one reason why I chose the place as a rendezvous. I nod to the barmaid, she pours me a pint, and as she works the pump we exchange a few platitudes about the weather, traffic, the local soccer team. She jerks her head, says, "They're in the back room." I thank her and go through. There are 4 urban explorers tonight, 3 under 30, 1 much older, all wearing outdoor gear, which is ironic. They're chatting away, none too quietly, and I resist the temptation to shush them. First, establish authority. I put my pint down and stand over them. Silence falls. I introduce myself, not using my real name, of course. They have to use theirs, though. That's part of the deal. I've got to check out the clients beforehand. You can't be too careful when you're operating in a legal grey area. Thanks to careful research, I can put names to faces. The 20-somethings are Keith and Kim, very much a couple, all snugly on the leather bench, sharing smiles, touching, bit of mild shoving. Love's young dream. I try to be cynical, but I miss that sort of warmth, human contact, finishing one another's sentences, all the stuff that advertising execs love. But time brings its compensations. The old guy is Bruce, a know-it-all, fancies himself an expert. He might be a problem. Like many a bore, he's no idea how tedious his endless monologues on technical matters are. He's the sort who turns up on comment threads and sets everyone right, to his own satisfaction. Still, he's a smallish, weedy guy, so at least he can't throw his weight around. Josh is the youngster of the group, late teens or early 20s, black-clad, intense, fancy-sleeve tattoo. Judging by his online activity, he's a bit of a crank, into cryptozoology, UFOs, conspiracy theories, God knows what else. But you get all sorts in this game. It's not what you call regular tourism. Having introduced myself, I pull up a stool and sit down. Right, let's just run over the ground rules one more time, I say. Josh rolls his eyes while Keith, Kim giggle, shove each other. Bruce is looking at me intensely. He has a low blink rate. Firstly, we stick together. Nobody goes off alone, nobody nags behind. If anyone breaks that rule, I turn back and leave the way we came in. Is that clear? Bruce clears his throat. Christ, here we go. I understand that we'll be visiting an area you are already familiar with. Therefore, you could have provided us with a chart of the tunnels. I interrupt him, rudely. It's the only way sometimes. I'm the one who's taking the risks here. I don't just give out information to anyone who can then stick it on a website or set up a rival business, and this is a business, which reminds me, £50 each, in advance. They hand over the money with varying degrees of grace. OK, I say, pocketing the dosh. Second ground rule, you leave your phones in my van. Protests, of course. I raise a hand for quiet. They don't work underground except when you're near a vent or drain or whatever, and sending any kind of signal's a bad idea. The local cops have become much more aware of urbexing lately, and sometimes they can pinpoint a cell phone signal. It's unlikely, but not impossible. But we wanted to make a video, protests Kim. I mean, people won't believe we went down there otherwise. She's sweet. They both are, really. The sort of people you can't help feeling bad about, disappointing. You can borrow this if you like, and produce a small digital camera. The SD memory card is included in the price. I've got more in the van, all part of the service. Mollified, Keith Kim start to examine the camera, film each other goofing around. Christ, I think I'm getting diabetes, mutters Josh. Third rule, I say, no matter what happens, do what I tell you. I know this underground space, you don't. The whole of this area is honeycombed with old coal mines, plus Victorian sewers and drains, and World War II bomb shelters. They all interconnect, and a lot of them are poorly maintained and ready to collapse. So if I say run, you run. If I stand absolutely still, you make like statues. Understood? Yes, sir, says Kim, giving a mock salute. Right, we might as well drink up and get moving, I say. But now Josh is waving his phone in front of me. I want to know if this is where we're going, he asks. There's a video running on the phone, and I recognize it at once. I hear tiny screams from the speaker, vague forms thrash around. A face, inhumanly pale with huge black eyes, appears briefly in close-up. A greenish light reflects from dank tunnel walls. "Ooh, we saw that one too," exclaims Kim. Bruce snorts. "I've seen it. Obviously fake," he says. "Amateurish nonsense, especially the ending. Not even decent CGI. "Look," I say, before they can start bickering, "I've seen that clip, and whatever people are saying, it could have been made anywhere. Yes, they seem to have British accents, judging by their cries for help, which seem a bit overdone, by the way. But there are tunnels like that all over the country. One Victorian drain looks much like another, and as Bruce says, the whole thing screams fake." Josh has frozen the video, holds up his phone. A humanoid thing, hairless with huge clawed hands, is sinking its teeth into the neck of a half-naked man. The victim looks comically frightened, staring at the camera with a look that says, "I can't believe this is happening." "That's pretty good work if it is fakery," says Josh. "The makeup, prostheses, all that stuff looks professional to me, but nobody's taking credit for it. There's no point in making a horror film, even a 5-minute one, not using it to get some kudos, advance your career, is there?" Keith Kim look worried now, but Bruce comes to the rescue with another snort, his grey nostril hairs quivering with contempt. "They have to wait for it to go viral, get a certain number of hits before they announce it's a hoax, don't they? Even I know that." "It's been out there for weeks," protests Josh. "It's got nearly 500,000 hits." 5 minutes of desultory argument follows. Then we're all finished with our drinks and ready to go. I take them out to the van, dish out their respective kits, not just the cheap cameras, but also hard hats with lamps. "Safety first," I tell them, though I don't think they provide protection from underground cannibal monsters. Josh scowls, but takes his kit with the rest. The phones are deposited in the van, and we're then good to go. It's a short walk up the road to the old Civil Defence Headquarters, a 1940s bunker converted for Cold War usage and decommissioned at the turn of the century. The place is set well back from the road, but I caution them not to put their hard hats on until we're inside. There's a hole in the fence I covered with some old junk, easy to crawl through. Then we nip round the side of the building to a door that I locked with my own padlock. "Hats on, but wait till we're inside before switching on your lights," I tell them. The old bunker is a series of concrete and steel boxes. There's nothing much of interest apart from a few tattered maps on the walls, filing cabinets long since gutted, small piles of canned food, relics of a conflict that never happened. We move quickly through and down, taking the stairs to the basement, then the sub-basement. Bruce is right behind me, giving a running commentary on NATO, Cuban Missile Crisis, the works. Keith Kim are pissing off Bruce in their silly, gentle way, while Josh is silent, tagging along at the back, still brooding on the video, I suppose. We reach the end of the sub-basement room where the walls collapsed. "This is due to subsidence in old mine workings," I tell them. "As such, it's risky to go through. I'm giving you this warning now so nobody can claim I misled you later, should anything happen." "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," says Keith. It's all a big giggle to some people. "Just so we're clear," I say, and lead them into the Victorian storm drains. They are impressed. Bruce talks about a great achievement of the Industrial Revolution, and for once I have to agree with him. Keith Kim make assorted wow noises and film in all directions, but mostly end up focusing on one another. Josh is still a surly little bugger, but his money's as good as anyone's. "Right, we go downhill, under the city," I say. "Stick close. If you twist your ankle or your light goes out, anything like that, give a yell. Don't get strung out. Don't go into side passages. Don't dawdle. We stay together. Understood? It's the only safe way." "It doesn't seem that dangerous," observes Kim. "There are rats down here," I point out. As expected, this pretty much glues her to Keith's side for the rest of the expedition. The next 10 minutes or so are spent sloshing through rainwater that inevitably gets in through dozens of faults and cracks. At one point there's a slight vibration, a distant rumble. I tell them we're slap bang underneath the main coastal railway line. Bruce looks sceptical at this, but for a mercy says nothing. "It's getting a bit warmer. How'd that happen?" asks Keith. "Deeper you get, the warmer it gets," chips in Bruce. "Basic geophysics, I think you'll find." "That's when you go really deep," objects Keith. "I mean, we're talking miles down, nearer the Earth's, magma." "We are quite deep," I say, "but remember, there's also some carbon dioxide build-up down here. It's heavier than air." This quiets them for a while, and then we arrive at the end of the main drain. There's a big iron grill that looks out onto an underground river flowing through a huge culvert to the sea about 2 miles east. "Is that it?" asks Josh, incredulous. "The end of the line," I say. They crowd forward to look through the grill, their lamps playing on the rusted iron bars. "Wow, it's spooky," says Kim, shoving her camera through to film the culvert. Josh is looking around at the walls of the drain, his lamp throwing glistening circles of blue-white light over the curved brickwork. I walk back up the drain until I'm about 15 feet away, then turn and look back. Josh looks at me, his lamp blinding. "What's wrong?" he asks. "Nothing," I say. I take out my phone and start filming. "Hey," Josh shouts, "you said we couldn't—" Then his expression changes as it starts to dawn on him. Too late. Behind him the iron grill vanishes in a greenish glow. Kim screams, pulls her arm back to reveal a smoking stump where her hand was. That's another camera gone. Jesus Christ! Bruce is backing off quickly for an old guy, but not fast enough. The first of the visitors leaps out of the portal and wraps its arms and legs around him, plunging fangs into his neck. Almost a shot-for-shot remake of the last video, in fact. I imagine Bruce is stringy old meat, but perhaps all the more flavoursome for that. The next one takes down Keith, who's trying to wrap a tourniquet around Kim's arm. Nice young couple, but slow when it counts. Josh is faster, nearly makes it to me before another visitor tackles him, starts to drag him back towards the portal. He screams. Well, who wouldn't? Another visitor leaps, and the two start to tear at his legs and buttocks, too hungry to wait. The iron smell of blood is heavy now, and it does indeed seem warm down here. It's all over in less than 3 minutes. When the visitors are finished, they reward me with life, as they have done regularly since they spared me that first time, back when we were fixing the storm drains, before the war. The first Great War, that is. I've learned a lot since then, of course, but not much about them. I still don't know what they are, or where they come from, only what they need. Maybe one day they'll kill me, or come through in force, kill everyone. Or perhaps they'll simply stop coming, and I'll grow old and die like everyone else. Until then, we have a deal. With judicious editing, the video will be at most 90 seconds, maybe less. The trick is to make it look cheap and contrived, first-year film studies stuff at best. Too real and questions may be asked in high places. Too little detail